In addressing the abominations described in the book of 1st Enoch from a biblical perspective, we must frame them in the broader context of ancient Jewish thought and how these ideas interface with the biblical narrative. The abominations in Enoch, particularly concerning the actions of the fallen Watchers and the resulting chaos, resonate deeply within the biblical worldview, especially when we consider them against the backdrop of divine rebellion and cosmic order. The themes found in Enoch align with Genesis 6, 1 through 4, and its portrayal of the sons of God and their transgressions. But the underlying spiritual narrative extends far beyond these passages. To unpack this, we need to consider the role of cosmic order, divine rebellion, and ongoing influences of supernatural beings within biblical theology. I'll be tackling that and more on today's episode. I'm Grant Forrester, a pastor and apologist in Wilmington, North Carolina. This is Veiled Kingdoms. Let's pierce the veil. The starting point is Genesis 6, 1 through 4, which describes how the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and took wives for themselves, resulting in offspring known as the Nephilim. This event is shrouded in mystery, but it points to a larger cosmic rebellion where heavenly beings step outside their ordained roles, leading to catastrophic results for humanity. In many Jewish traditions, including 1st Enoch, these sons of God are identified as the Watchers, a group of rebellious Elohim who left their divine posts to engage in illicit relationships with human women. From the perspective of biblical theology, this act is not just an aberration of natural order, but a profound violation of the boundary between the spiritual and physical realms. These rebellious beings, driven by their own lusts and desires, forsake their divine mission, which leads to the corruption of the created order. Enoch elaborates on this event, providing more details about the rebellion and its aftermath. In the book of 1st Enoch, the Watchers are described as celestial beings who not only corrupt humanity through their union with women, but also teach forbidden knowledge, skills like sorcery, astrology, and the crafting of weapons of war. This sharing of divine secrets was a fundamental transgression as it introduced chaos into human civilization. Humanity was not ready for this knowledge, and its acquisition led to widespread destruction. One of the most poignant abominations in Enoch's description is the Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers and the human women. These beings were not ordinary. They were giants, described as mighty men of renown, but they were also agents of violence and destruction. Their existence was an aberration, a hybrid between divine and human that was never intended in God's order. As they devoured human resources and brought devastation, God's judgment became inevitable. The book of Enoch paints a bleak picture of the world following this cosmic rebellion. Chaos reigns, bloodshed spreads, and creation itself groans under the weight of this corruption. The flood narrative, which immediately follows the brief account of the Nephilim in Genesis, is viewed as God's response to this chaos. It is an act of divine reset, purging the earth of the corruption brought by the Watchers and their offspring. To understand these abominations through a biblical lens, we must recognize that the Watchers' rebellion is part of a larger pattern of cosmic rebellion that is woven throughout Scripture. The Bible presents a world where the spiritual and physical realms are intricately connected. Divine beings are assigned roles in governing the cosmos, and their rebellion against God represents an assault on the very structure of the universe. In this context, the actions of the Watchers in Enoch are not just a localized issue, but part of a broader cosmic conflict. Their rebellion disrupts God's created order, mirroring the rebellion of other divine beings, such as the serpent in the garden in Genesis 3, and the fallen princes who are later judged by God in Psalm 82. Each of these rebellions reflects a failure of divine beings to maintain their assigned roles, leading to chaos on earth. The spiritual warfare themes presented here are not isolated, but are central to the biblical understanding of evil. The corruption introduced by the Watchers reflects a battle between God's kingdom and the forces of chaos, a theme that continues through the New Testament. Paul's writings frequently refer to principalities and powers that oppose God's order, echoing the ancient Jewish understanding of divine rebellion. The abominations of Enoch ultimately lead to divine judgment. In 1 Enoch, the Watchers are imprisoned in the abyss, awaiting their final judgment. This echoes the language of 2 Peter and Jude, where the apostle speaks of angels who sinned being held in chains of gloomy darkness until the day of judgment. This is 2 Peter 2:4 and Jude 6. This points to a future day where God will fully and finally deal with these rebellious beings. But while the immediate response to the abominations is judgment, the biblical story moves toward redemption. The flood was not the final answer. It was a temporary solution to cleanse the earth. The ultimate solution comes in the person of Jesus Christ, who defeats the forces of darkness and restores creation to its intended order. Colossians 2:15 speaks of Christ disarming the powers and authorities, triumphing over them by the cross. This victory is cosmic in scope. The rebellion of the Watchers, the spread of sin, and the corruption of humanity are undone through the work of Christ. His death and resurrection not only bring salvation to humanity, but also restore the cosmic order, reclaiming authority over the spiritual powers that have rebelled. From this perspective, the story of the Watchers and the abominations in 1 Enoch serves as a reminder of the ongoing cosmic conflict between God's kingdom and the forces of darkness. Believers are called to be aware of this spiritual battle and to recognize that the rebellion of the Watchers is part of a larger narrative of divine rebellion that continues today. This is where the New Testament's teachings on spiritual warfare become critical. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, authorities, and powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. The abominations of Enoch remind us that there are unseen forces at work, and believers must remain vigilant, grounded in the truth of Scripture and the victory of Christ. In conclusion, the abominations of Enoch, viewed through a biblical lens, reveal the profound consequences of divine rebellion and its impact on the created order. These ancient narratives serve as a backdrop to understanding the ongoing spiritual warfare that believers face, but ultimately, they point us toward the hope of redemption, a hope that is secured through the victory of Christ over all cosmic forces. The corruption introduced by the Watchers and their offspring is undone by the power of the cross, and believers are called to live in that victory, standing firm against the forces of darkness that seek to undermine God's kingdom. And that's all I've got for today. If you're still with me up to this point, I've got to assume this has been helpful to you. Please consider giving a like to the video or subscribe to the channel. Thanks for listening, and God bless.